So in this video, I just wanted to make like a really rough, I guess a blog style video just on my thoughts of having my own business for the last sort of, I don't know, maybe like 5 years or so. I mean, so if anyone's new to the work that I've done in my YouTube channel or any of my website or any digital thing that I've got out there online, I've been a graphic designer like a lot of people for quite a number of years, about 12 years now, and when I started it was quite in demand. So this was all the way back in 2012, so at the end of the 2010s. It was still quite, AI hadn't come along yet, so COVID hadn't happened yet, which I think has a big knock-on effect to businesses spending money and seeing value in creative work. And I think just generally there's been quite a shift in the value of creative work to some degree anyway. But so yeah, when I started, it was my first internship. I felt like there's a lot of potential out there for the work that you can do, and like lots of great big positive situations that could arise from my work, and everyone would collaborate, and it would be like this great it's just like a great and having your own business would be almost quite easy because people would see the value in your work, and I guess to some degree it's true and not true. Like I said, things have changed over time, and also there's parts of me that look back and think what I was envisioning was quite I suppose a little naive, and I didn't have any experience whatsoever. So before the last time I went out freelancing, I tried once before that. So I worked in my first internship for 5 years or so, and I left that job to go to another tech company, which is like an Apple reseller. I didn't get on there at all. Like, I enjoyed the work, but I just didn't fit into the team for whatever reason. I don't know what it was. Sometimes it happens. It was just down to that, really. So I left there after about 6 months, and then I went back to my previous employer, and they said, well, we don't have a full-time job for you at the moment, but we could give you like 3 months of self-employed work. So I went and set up my self-employed stuff, and I didn't really have any plan whatsoever. I didn't really have a plan. I was winging it pretty much. I didn't do any promotion. I think I might have rung a few people up about some freelance jobs, but that was it. Like, I didn't really have a structure or a plan or like a long-term goal or anything like that. So it's not surprising I didn't really make it very far. And before that, if I just skip back to before I left my internship, I did start a few freelance projects before that, but it was at no point that I think like I could make I thought I could make some money here and there, but I didn't think I'd be able to make a business from it. So like after that, so I left that internship. I went to work for this other company. It didn't work out, and then I went to work with another software company this time as a senior designer, and I was there for about 2 years. I think I left just after COVID. So the first year and a half was great. I really enjoyed the work. The culture was great, and it felt like there was a lot of potential for creative work and the stuff I could do in the future. And I was learning about, I guess, strategy. I don't really like using the word, but I guess it was a bit of that, creative strategy. Now, around this time, I began to realise that like creative work, you can't always you can't always have the client doesn't always see the same value as you. So sometimes you have to give the client what they want sometimes, and it might not be what you want the outcome to be, or the time scale, or there might be other constraints that you don't agree with, but that's what it is for that job. And it was during this time that I thought, well, I want to go try and freelance again. And unfortunately, I was sacked from that job, not because I'd made a mistake or I was not putting effort into the job. It was quite the opposite. I was getting burnt out quite a lot. It was during COVID, and like a lot of people, things were just all over the place. Things were uncertain. I had quite a bit of anxiety at the time, which I overcame, but that was an element of it. Also, probably not taking ownership and not looking after myself. So, but yeah, generally, it was around that time I started to think, well, I'm going to give this business thing another shot. So, when I was let go from that job, I thought I'd had a couple of interviews, but nothing was really sort of taking off, or nothing was really looking like it was going to come to anything. So I started freelancing again. So this would have been about 5 years ago, and I got a lot of momentum. And I'm always a victim of, like, why didn't I do that? Why didn't I think of that then? It's always the case, and especially with a lot of creative people and entrepreneurs, I think, as well. So I think that the point I'm getting to is that business is hard. It's not what you see on these videos online of all you need is an internet connection and an hour a day, and you can make so much money a month just from sitting around on your laptop. It's not as easy as that. There's loads of variables that come into whether you're going to, and like I think even by some luck I just did quite well as learning and being strategic, and when I think one of my biggest issues has been cash flow, which affects a lot of businesses. So how I work with clients at the moment is I try to put in place longer term timescales. So I know I'm going to get paid over, say, 3 months, rather than per job. Even if it's decent profit per job, you still might have an instance where you send something to the client, they maybe go on holiday for 6 weeks, and then you don't get paid for that time, obviously. So that's a big barrier. But when I first started freelancing again for the second time, I got very, very lucky. I already had some connections from the in-house roles I've had and the interviews that I'd been to and recruiters that I'd met, and like past clients that I had. So I had quite a lot of connections, so it sort of did help in some way. So I got a lot of work in design agencies during that time, and it was decent money. I could go and work in a design agency for a week or 2 weeks, and I'd be able to pay the rent and all my outgoings for like 2 months in the future. And I didn't have any concrete retainers in place during that time, but I just got very, very lucky. And from this, I got a little bit too comfortable and a little bit too taking my eye off the bigger picture, which was the cash flow issue. So it was a couple of years ago now that I during this time, so I got very lucky. But then it got to a point where, so I was getting regular agency bookings, but I was also doing client work in sort of chunks per job along the way. So even if I didn't have any agency work, say, for a month or so, I still have little snippets of client work that I could fit in that would allow me to pay the rent and have a little bit left over. But I didn't have any real, contracts as such in place. So there's no guarantee that I'm going to get work from either of those. I just got very, very lucky for a whole year. And eventually my luck started to run out. So the agency work just dried up for whatever reason. I think it was probably budget related. That's probably a good reason from it, that the agencies couldn't pay what they were, they didn't want to spend money on freelancers for whatever reason, or probably another good reason is the clients probably didn't have the money as well. And I also had that issue with clients, in that they didn't have as much to spend maybe as they had before. I think maybe some of the promotion I was doing wasn't working as well. Just a combination of things really, and it started to get to the point where I couldn't pay the rent for 1 month, but I had some savings, and I also had like a bit of a buffer from the work that I'd done to be able to pay the rent. But gradually that started going down and down, and then it got to the point where I had to pay the rent using my credit card. And then once I did that was my mistake, because it started to snowball a little bit from there. So what I didn't have was any other part-time job to supplement any of the other income. So right now I have a part-time job. I'm working at McDonald's. I've worked at Homebase before it's shut. I've worked at the Co-op. That was a product of getting into a lot of debt, not massively, not nothing. I didn't have to declare bankruptcy, or I just had to move out of my flat before I was evicted. I had quite a few electric bills to pay off. I've still got some overdrafts I'm paying off and stuff, but I got myself into not such a good position. And one point of it is that that like I put myself in that position. I didn't see the situation that was coming, but also you have to take these risks in life, and that's how you learn. And that's why I say all these videos of like really clean cut business people just sitting on their laptop and they've got a really nice studio, and like it's all bullshit. It's very, very lucky. It's very, very lucky to get to that setup where you get. Yeah, don't get me wrong. There are people out there that are doing it. They know this stuff. They've got luck, or they've just got lucky, or they just really know their market, or they know they've got a real niche within their market that they've worked out how to show their value to people. But I'm still learning, and I didn't do that. I'm still learning now. Like I say, I'm always a victim of like, why didn't I do that then? Why didn't I think of that then? But that's life. And yeah, so I got into debt. I had to move back into my mum and dad's house at 33, 34, which is what it is. I had no other option. Otherwise I was essentially going to be homeless, to put it in perspective. And don't get me wrong, I was looking for other jobs. I was looking obsessively for both graphic design jobs full time, and also just any job, cleaning or whatever, working in a bar, whatever. Just couldn't seem to find anything. And again, I don't know whether that's because companies were wanting to save money. They maybe didn't want to employ as many people as they were. It's a factor of, it could be multiple factors, yeah. But so I had to move back in with my mum and dad. I started working at the Co-op to literally just start paying off my debt. So I lived at my mum and dad's for a year, worked at the Co-op, and then Homebase for a year. Pretty much paid everything off, had a bit of savings, and moved back to Nottingham, where I am now, in Hucknall, Nottingham. Like I say, I was working at Homebase in Nottingham, and then that unfortunately shut down due to that store closing. I'm working at McDonald's now, like 30 hours a week. I am getting some client work, but like I'm in no way the position that I was in when I was freelancing without a part-time job. And I look back and think, how the hell did I manage to bloody do that? It's I was, quite content at the time. I remember, like, I didn't have, it's one of these things in life, and you learn. Like, I can't imagine not having a part-time job now or anything else to like give me some emergency money to pay the rent, and that's life, But I think business is hard. That people don't see this side of it, and I don't think people are maybe always honest. Like, they want to present something that maybe like Facebook, when you see all these happy couples that they look great on the outside, but actually sometimes they're maybe not 100% happy behind the scenes. You never see that side of it. It's the same with business. I think sometimes people might present this really prestige podcast style room of, like, I'm a really successful businessman making six figures, when actually some of them might just be still living at home with their mum and dad, and they're like, I think people don't realise this. I just wanted to make a video just about my journey, really, just because it's something I've been thinking of for a good year or so, just the journey I've had. And, like, there's times where I think, how did I get in this situation where I'm working at McDonald's at 4 o'clock in the morning, like sweeping underneath a McFlurry machine, to I'm not obviously, like, ungrateful for the work at all. When Homebase shut, I had to really, really apply hard to even find McDonald's, and like, McDonald's were one of the only companies that got back to me. Out of all the jobs that I applied for, McDonald's was like, yeah, we'll give you some part-time hours, you can start in, like, literally next week. And plenty of jobs just never got back to me, they never even applied. So it's one of those things. It's like, I'd rather have been in this situation in life. I'm not exactly in the same position that I was when I was freelancing. It's quite hard to save some money at the moment. Like, I can't just go on holiday when I want. I've really got to be careful of what I spend, because I'm only on part-time hours at the moment, and I've tried looking for a full-time job, just doing anything, because McDonald's didn't seem to want to give me more than 30 hours a week. And, like, yeah, I'm getting a few chunks from freelancing here and there. I'm doing more promotion, I'm doing more stuff like this, and I'm starting to figure out what's worked, because for so long, promotion wise, there's, like, so much stuff that people say that you should be doing, and some things work for one business, it doesn't work for others. It's like, it's completely, unless you have money to have a sales team or a marketing team, it's hard to know what is going to work for your business. And I think one thing that I have realised is you do need a lot of money to start a business. I've somehow managed to, like, paddle my way up to this point, and, like, from the experiences of other people starting businesses, they've saved up a lot of money beforehand, and that's something I should have done, but it is what it is. Like I said, I would have rather have done this than wake up in, like, another couple of years still working in a design job and just think, yeah, I've got a decent wage, but, like, I haven't done anything, like, of real value. Like, if I think of all the clients that I've worked with up till now, I've worked with some great clients and, like, done some work that I would never get the opportunity to do in an in-house job or an agency. It's quite often in design agencies, they own the rights to the work. So although you, as a designer, work for the agency owns the rights to that client's work. So typically you can't really use it. In-house is great. You can start a brand and build it up and change it, and you can own all of it, but you're going to be doing one brand probably quite a lot of the time. So in a way, working with the clients that I've worked with and the work I'm doing now is, although the pay hasn't been really comparable to in-house or agency, I choose that over that, to be honest with you. It's been great. And like, I'm sort of at the point where I'm going to change jobs from McDonald's. Sometimes I'm just quite exhausted. Like, the hours are just like, I'm a night owl anyway, so I tend to like later shifts anyway. But sometimes I'm just so exhausted, like working sometimes a Saturday and a Sunday, and as well doing all the promotion for your business and doing client work. It's like, oh, it was like my head's going to explode. But you know, I'd much rather do this than have it any other way. And I think, yeah, thanks for watching. So you can check out my YouTube channel for all of the mentoring projects that I'm working on right now, as well as technical website stuff. I am on Instagram, but I just mainly tend to put more personal stuff on there than business. And I'm also on LinkedIn. You can find out more about my portfolio pieces and just general stuff that I'm up to blog wise on there as well. And there's also my website, which you can obviously check out, which has my blogs and stuff on there, as well as my portfolio pieces and more specific about them. And yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.